Okay, so we continue our lesson in chapter 7, and we are in section 2, and we are learning about the North American cultures. And from our previous lesson, we learned about the peoples of the Great Plains. And today we will learn about the Mound Builders and Cahokia. Have your textbooks ready or log into Loda USD website and launch Clever. And from Clever, Cengage Learning with your student account and password. And from the left side, it's Unit 3, Chapter 7, Section 2. And we are learning about the Mound Builders and Cahokia, pages 192 to 193. This chapter's essential question is, in what ways do civilizations adapt to the environments in which they live? And the objective of this lesson is to explore the mound builders of the Mississippi River and the city of Cahokia. As you probably learned from our virtual field trip, if you were able to watch that, the mound builders lived in fertile river valleys where they could both hunt and farm, so which provided plenty of food. They used soil to build mounds, and this lesson describes the culture and settlements of the mound builders. Woodlands and prairies covered the lands that stretch between the Great Lakes and the Gulf of Mexico. So between 1000 BC and 500 AD, the Adena and then the Hopewell lived in this region. They are known as mound builders because they built huge mounds of earth. So the mounds served as religious and ceremonial purposes, and some mounds, such as the Great Serpent built by the Adena in southern Ohio, form the shape of animals. Like the people of the Great Plains, they relied on hunting and gathering, but they also tamed wild plants and farmed crops such as barley. So maize, called corn today, appeared around AD 100, probably brought by traders, most likely from the areas of the Aztecs or the Maya. And the Adena and Hopewell cultures developed highly organized and complex societies. The Mississippians eventually populated the region from present day Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, south to the Gulf of Mexico. So, like the Adena and Hopewell, Mississippians built mounds and had sloping side steps and flat tops. So, however, the Mississippians built their mounds around the central plaza where they held feasts and ceremonies. The fertile flood plains of the Mississippi River Valley supported farming, and because of the fertility of the lands, the Mississippians grew ample quantities of maize, beans, and squash. They also hunted skillfully using bow and arrows. So, because of their plentiful food, the Mississippian settlements supported large populations. So, in fact, they were the most populous Native American settlements north of Mexico. Now, let's talk about the Cahokia. So, the largest and most complex city that the mound builders created was the Cahokia, so in the southwest of Illinois. Cahokia contained more than 120 mounds, covering 6 square miles and supported more than 30,000 people. So, a series of stockades surrounded much of the city, and a grand plaza provide space for ceremonies and celebrations. The centerpiece of the Cahokia was Monk's Mound, which rose 100 feet above the flat prairie and covered 16 acres. Cahokians engaged in widespread trade with other Mississippian cities and towns. So, using Mississippi River and other waterways, they exchanged freshwater pearls, silver, copper, beads, and pottery. By 1400, Cahokia had been abandoned. Archaeologists are not sure why, but many think this once mighty city may have been weakened by less abundant crop production and disease or even overpopulation or most likely warfare. So, as you can see in this illustration, Cahokia was the largest of the many settlements that appeared along the Mississippi River beginning in the 800s. So, this model shows how Cahokia may have looked hundreds of years ago. Archaeologists found this artifact as well, called the Rattler Frog Pipe, in a burial mound near Cahokia. So they think that it may represent a shaman in an amphibian disguise. So a shaman is like a priest or a tribe leader. Okay, if you need additional information about the Cahokia, there's a virtual field trip video that is available in our Google Classroom. Now let's go to the review and assess questions. For number one, reading check. What purpose did mounds serve in the Adena, Hopewell, and Mississippian cultures? And number two, draw conclusions. How was agriculture important to the way of life of the Mississippian cultures? And number three, analyze visuals. Based on the text and illustrations of Cahokia, what purpose might the stockades have served? Now go back to our Google Classroom and answer these questions in our review and assess assignment. This will be slide number 4. And obviously, just like what I keep on telling you guys, don't forget to fill up all the basic information and the definition of the key vocab and the title of the lesson as well. Correct answers using your own word in complete sentences will give you full credit. So that's our lesson for today, Chapter 7, Section 2.4, the Mound Builders and the Cahokia.